We're surrounded by them every single day. The phone in your hand, the car you drive, even the coffee you drink. Chances are a corporation had a hand in it. But what actually is a corporation? Today, we're going to break down this powerful legal tool that, for better or worse, built our modern world. So, to get started, let me ask you a question. What could a massive, globe-spanning tech company possibly have in common with a small local nonprofit, say, an animal shelter down the street? Besides maybe having a website. The answer is actually pretty surprising. They can both be built on the exact same legal framework. That's right. This shows us that the whole idea of a corporation isn't just about making huge profits. It's a super flexible tool for organizing pretty much any kind of mission you can think of. So let's dive into the core idea that makes all of this possible. To really get this, we have to understand the single most important principle that makes a corporation, well, a corporation. It's a simple idea, but it changes everything. Here it is. A corporation is a legal entity that is separate from its owners. Now, this is the key part. In the eyes of the law, it's literally treated as an artificial person. It has its own rights, its own responsibilities, completely distinct from the people who actually created it. And this whole legal person thing, it's what's so revolutionary. It means a corporation can own property, it can sign contracts, it can even go into debt, all in its own name. This complete separation from its owners is the key that unlocks everything else we're about to talk about. Because of this unique legal status, corporations get some incredible advantages. And that's exactly why this structure is so popular. Honestly, you can think of them as the corporation's superpowers. First up, we've got what's arguably the most important superpower of them all, the one that completely changed the game for business. It's the liability shield, and it's all about protecting the people who put their money on the line. So here's the deal. Because the corporation is its own person, it's responsible for its own debts. That means if the business fails, the personal assets of the owners, we're talking their house, their car, their savings, are safe. They're protected. Their financial risk is limited only to the amount they actually invested in the company. That right there is a massive game changer for getting people to invest. Okay, next up is the corporation's incredible talent for attracting money. Seriously, you can think of it like a giant money magnet. So how does it pull this off? Well, corporations can raise huge, and I mean huge amounts of cash by creating and selling shares of stock to anyone who wants to invest. This lets them fund massive projects, expand all over the world, or innovate in ways that would be totally impossible for just one person or a small partnership. And the third superpower? Well, this one sounds like something straight out of science fiction. Immortality. In theory, a corporation can live forever. Think about it. A business tied to a single owner, well, what happens when that owner retires or passes away? The business often dies with them. But a corporation? It has what's called perpetual existence. Shareholders can sell their shares, new investors can buy in, but the company itself just keeps on trucking, totally uninterrupted. This continuity is what allows for some seriously long-term planning. Now, as you can probably guess, you don't get these kinds of superpowers for free. There are always trade-offs, right? There's a kind of kryptonite that comes along with the corporate structure. You gotta play by the rules of the game. And this really lays out the basic deal. To get those amazing superpowers, the liability shield, easy access to money, and living forever, you have to accept the catch. And that catch usually comes in two main forms: a lot more regulations and a pretty unique tax situation. Let's break down those costs. The first major cost is having to navigate a mountain of rules and paperwork. I mean, it makes sense, right? The government isn't just going to hand out superpowers without a whole lot of strings attached. And those strings are often called red tape. So corporations are subject to a ton of government oversight. They have to follow very specific laws, meet strict financial reporting requirements to keep things transparent, and play by a whole book of corporate governance rules. Staying on top of all that takes time, it takes expertise, and yeah, it takes money. The second catch is one that hits right in the wallet. It's often called the double tax bite. And yeah, it's about as fun as it sounds. Okay, here's how it works for a standard C Corp. First, the corporation, as its own legal person, has to pay taxes on all its profits. Tax bite number one. Then, when it gives some of those after-tax profits to its shareholders, that's what dividends are, the shareholders have to pay personal income tax on that same money all over again. That's the double hit. And it's a big reason why other structures, like S-corps, were created to try and get around this. So we know what a corporation is, we know its powers, and we know its costs. But who's actually in charge? Who's running the show? Let's take a quick look inside the typical structure. It's really a clear hierarchy, and it's all designed for accountability. At the very top, you have the shareholders. They are the actual owners. They elect a board of directors, whose job is to set the big picture strategy and keep an eye on things. Then, the board hires the officers, people like the CEO, to actually manage the day-to-day operations. The really key idea here is that the ownership is separated from the direct control, which is what lets these organizations get so huge and be run by professionals. Okay, let's pull back and look at the big picture. We've been in the weeds with the mechanics, but why is this legal tool so incredibly important to all of us? Why does it matter so much? Well, when you put it all together, you see the true genius of this invention. The corporate structure lets us pool massive amounts of money for huge projects. It encourages people to take risks and innovate by limiting their personal financial danger. And it creates durable organizations that can outlive their founders, sometimes by centuries. And this brings us full circle, right back to where we started. Whether it's a for-profit giant making our smartphones or an essential nonprofit running that local animal shelter, the corporate legal structure is the engine under the hood that lets them operate, grow, and last. It truly deeply shapes the world we all live in. So the final thought I want to leave you with is this. This powerful legal invention was the essential tool for building the economy, the society, the world we have today. The only question left is, what will it build next?